Hello, I'm Miranda Allen. I'm a marketing specialist at CTI Group. This is my boss, Randy Sorensen. He's the VP of Sales for the Americas.
Hi, Miranda.
Good to be with you today, Randy.
And good to be with you. I understand you have some questions for me.
We do. We have some questions for you about leadership and your career. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how that's kind of shaped where you are today?
Okay. I've got, 35 years experience in business, of which about 25 of those years I've been a supervisor or manager, I guess you'd say, in a leadership role. Pretty much always in technology, mostly large corporations, but this most recent assignment is with our current company is a smaller company.
Definitely. And so how would you say those different experiences you had throughout those different organizations kind of shaped your leadership style of what you do today?
Well, there's a big difference between large businesses and small, I think. Most of my leadership has been shaped from, number one, experience, but also being part of a big company with AT&T. I had several training courses and had the opportunity to work with some consulting groups that consulted on leadership, and I really learned a lot from them.
And how would you define that style that they kind of taught you?
Well, I had a really kind of eye-opening experience with one of the training sessions. We were trying to focus on building breakthrough enterprises where you really need to engage every member of the team to have those kind of breakthrough results. And the lesson that I learned there, that to get every member of your team working at their maximum, you have to engage every member of the team. And usually that doesn't always happen naturally. There's always a couple people that you don't think perform as well or that you don't connect with. And I asked them, what you should do about that. Should you replace those people, or what's the problem? And they said, well, the problem's simple. It's you. And so I went, really? And they said, yeah, well, the problem is you're not committed to their success. And the analogy they used with me was, if your child comes home from school and they're failing at math, it's not a tough conversation to have with them to help them be successful, to want them to be successful, because you're definitely committed. And so they really coached me to get your mindset there, that if you ever think you're going to have a tough conversation with someone that you work with, and you're having a tough conversation because your head's not in the right place. If you get your head in the right place where you're really, truly committed to their success, then everything works a lot easier, and it flows better as well.
So do you have any examples of where you might have faced a situation like that?
Yeah, several. And I think one of the most rewarding experiences I had was when I actually fired a person and they came back later and thanked me because they were not being successful in their role. I saw that. I talked to them. I worked with them. I said, look, you don't have the right skill match for this role, but it was a role they really wanted because it was a sales manager role. It was a big chair for them to sit in, and they wouldn't on their own leave it because of that, but they were not a good sales manager. They were failing. And so I pushed them into another role, another job that was not a supervisory role, which was one of the skill set deficiencies. And after about a year, people were asking for this person by name, and because he was so good in his new role, and he was so much happier. He came back and eventually thanked me for pushing him out.
So basically learning the person and making sure that their job role matches their skill set so that they can be as successful as possible, basically.
Right. I mean, it's easy to identify when someone's failing. Then it's a little harder to figure out why and what you think is the problem. And then you try to rectify that and you go through several iterations. I had another person use the term coach, change. And it was kind of that. After 3 or 4 attempts at trying to change and nothing was working, then you realize it's maybe time to make a change.
So how would you say that kind of plays into when you're going to hire people for your team? Because I know we kind of talked a little about skills and job roles. So what would you say is important to you when you go to interview a candidate?
Boy, I think it really, to some degree, depends on the role, what you're interviewing for. So what skill sets are you looking for? I hire a lot of salespeople, so I'm always specifically looking for a couple skills. I look for empathy skills and ego drive, primarily, because I think those are critical things for a salesperson. The ability to have to talk to people and hear what they're saying, to understand what they're saying, not necessarily to be sympathetic to what they're saying, but just to understand what they're saying. and then to have that motivation to continue on after you've been told 9 or 10 times before you get a yes,
Yeah.
I think is unique for a salesperson. But my style is, I think very personal. So when I interview someone, I usually try to get at where are they from, where did they grow up, kind of their background, so I understand better who they are. And then part of that, what comes out of that, you can see what experiences they've had. So, for instance, if I'm looking for a salesperson and I want those empathy skills and ego drive, I'm looking for what have they done that would show they have that. Like maybe they were in a leadership role, maybe they were very social in a fraternity, sorority, or whatever those activities might be. Kind of says this is a person that gets out there and communicates with others and likes that. So things like that.
Absolutely. So now you bring them in and you've seen those skills in their interviewing process. How does that kind of carry over those expectations into their job role? So once they're hired.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think for me the interviewing process is kind of a two-way street, because you're assessing this person for a position or a role. But you also want them to understand that position or role, so to make sure that they're comfortable and they know what they're getting into and that it would be a good fit. So during the interview process, and it might be in a second or third interview, you're kind of doing some testing about how they'll handle situations that are really part of that job and see how they react to that. Are they excited about that kind of a challenge? Are they willing to do that kind of work? And I think that very easily then carries into the job, because if you've kind of explained to them this is what the job is, you're also saying this is what you're going to have to do to be successful at it, and that expectation is set in that interview process.
Absolutely. And do you offer any kind of training program or onboarding when the employees come and join your team?
Yeah, and there again, it's very different between a big company and a little company. A little company like ours is very much throwing someone out of the boat like yourself and say swim. Large corporations have some very nice formal onboarding processes and training, and that's nice. So it really kind of depends on the environment. You use what you can, but I don't think there's any better thing to do than to get somebody out there. Maybe it's a ride with another salesperson in a territory that you're someday going to have a territory like that. To really be able to observe and experience a successful person doing it is probably the best way to learn.
Absolutely.
And so if you have that opportunity, you can do that. In a case like a person like yourself, where you're the only marketing specialist, it's tough to come in and say, hey, emulate this vacant position.
Yeah.
So it is kind of jump out of the boat, start swimming, and then guide them on what's working, what's not working, what's adding value, what's probably not so valuable, and help them prioritize. But people adapt pretty quickly and learn pretty quickly, and especially if they've had a good college experience, training, background for the job, it's kind of natural. A lot of times they bring a lot of those skills to the job with them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of touched on, for myself, I'm the only marketing role here in our offices. So as far as your sales team, so what is your ideal structure if you could choose kind of how your team is made up?
Well, that depends on the situation. It really does depend on the market. I mean, we just recently made an adjustment because we had 3 salespeople operating pretty much the same, and decided that we needed more focus on existing customers, but we still needed to chase new customers. So we divided the roles and had this one person that was better skilled at acquiring new customers, just chase that, and 2 people that were better skilled at working with existing customers, focus on that. And so we kind of divided up the labor with that specialty, and I think it's working really well. So, and that's a very common thing. If you've got to constantly be assessing: is what we're doing working? Is what we're doing the best we could do? You get that through customer feedback, through observation, and then not be afraid to tweak things and make a change if you think it'll work. And if it doesn't, then you've got to try something else. But
so now that you have these kind of diversified roles, would you say there are different motivators or ways that you motivate these different types of employees on your team?
That's a great question. I mean, everybody's different, and if you really have to personalize. I don't think you can come in with one blanket way to do things. Going back to the lesson that I learned about being committed to someone's success, part of that was learning that there's one thing that everyone wants, and that's to be successful. I've never really had someone I worked with or managed that didn't want to be successful. And so you've got that common element to work with. And if someone's not being successful, they're probably open to suggestion or help if you do it in the right way, because that's all they want is to be successful. And if you're there to help them and they feel that, it's going to be well received. And if you can really help them to understand why they're not being successful, if it is a skill gap, they'll start to see that maybe this isn't the right role for them. One of the best experiences I've had is coaching young kids. I coached girls volleyball, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, and I would encourage anybody that wants to move into a leadership role in that manner to try something like that, because I think coaching younger people forces you to not just do it anyway, but you have to do it a certain way so they really get it. So that was a great experience also.
Absolutely. Now, has there ever been a time where you felt like you could not motivate this employee? I know you kind of touched on where you had to let someone go because you couldn't feel like, or you didn't feel like they were, in the right spot, but maybe that wasn't exactly motivation.
Yeah, I guess the answer would be yes. I've never had someone that didn't want to be successful. The harder folks that I see are people that don't care as much.
Yeah.
That are, some call it laid back, but to me it's they don't care.
They're not motivated.
You can get a team fired up and really want to achieve a goal and do great things, but when you run across people that could care, one way or another, then they're harder. But it doesn't mean they don't want to be successful. And so I think you really have to focus in on those components, the way they would define them being successful, and work on that.
So you keep going on and touching about this idea of success. So what do you see as success for your employees, and kind of how do you hold them accountable to that level of success?
Well, I think it's, there's nothing I don't think any more powerful than that self-motivation, self-accountability. So if you can focus in on what really motivates someone, what they're trying to achieve, that works the best. But it really varies greatly by the person. You'll notice in our group we've got multiple generations of people here. And so when I talk to you, I see you being motivated towards things that will work towards a very long career yet to come.
Yeah.
And so you set your sights long and are very willing, where someone that's maybe at the tail end of their career has a few more years to retirement, they're motivated very differently. They both have motivations, but I think you have to, there again, get to know the individual, understand what it is they define as success, and then help them get there.
Absolutely. So what advice would you have for developing leaders, people that see themselves leading a team or a group in the future?
Well, it's there's nothing that beats experience, I don't think. But just get in there and try it. Leadership is not the same thing as supervision. People can lead from wherever they are. Individual contributors are leaders, and so start thinking that way and think about your own leadership. What am I doing to influence others around me? Even if you aren't managing people or supervising people, you're in a leadership role. And if you start to think that way and think about how you can impact the organization, impact those around you, the success of the business, then when you get into a supervisory role and you truly are doing those functions, because sometimes that's performance reviews, you get a little more engaged in really assessing people. But the leadership isn't that different. Everyone leads from where they are. So if you think of it that way, start your leadership now. And how do I learn? I've learned a lot in classes. I've learned a lot from consultants I've worked with. So you look for opportunities to get engaged with those kind of learning experiences in more of a formal manner than an informal manner. But experience matters as well.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Randy. I appreciate having you today.
Hope this was helpful.
Thanks.